Hi, I'm Clara Lau. I'm the Senior Director of the Human Nutrition Research Program at the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, a contractor to the Beef Checkoff. Today I'm going to review some research exploring the role of beef in healthy aging. For disclosure purposes, I am an employee of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, which is the national trade association representing U.S. cattle producers. As one of the several contractors to the Beef Checkoff, NCBA uses Checkoff dollars to pay for the activities funded by the Beef Checkoff, including research studies and related communications. In my presentation, I will share background about NCBA, the Beef Checkoff, and NCBA's nutrition research program, provide a Beef Nutrition 101, and provide an overview of research exploring beef's role in healthy aging with a focus on muscle health. Many of you may not be familiar with what Checkoff programs are. A commodity Checkoff program promotes and provides research and information for a particular agricultural commodity without reference to specific producers or brands. They are founded, funded, and governed by those who pay in, including farmers, importers, processors, and other stakeholders, and it is important to note that no tax dollars are involved, and a USDA Ag Marketing Service oversees 22 Checkoff programs. The Beef Checkoff program was established as part of the 1985 Farm Bill. Founded, funded, and governed by America's beef farmers, ranchers, and importers, funds are used to research, innovate, and promote beef. And by law, Checkoff funds cannot be used to influence government policy or action, including lobbying. And again, the USDA has oversight over all Beef Checkoff activities. In fact, the presentation you're listening to right now had to get USDA approval. The Checkoff assesses $1 every time a beef animal is sold, where 50 cents goes to the Cattlemen's Beef Board, or CBB, and 50 cents is retained by the State Beef Council. In states with no Beef Council, the full dollar goes to CBB, who administers the Beef Checkoff program and sets the budget. CBB is required to conduct programs through industry-governed organizations known as contractors, where NCBA is one of the many beef industry contractors. By building a science-based knowledge foundation, research is the cornerstone of all Checkoff-funded marketing, promotion, education, and information programs. Research is paramount in every decision impacting the beef industry, from understanding consumers' purchasing behaviors, attitudes about beef, reducing safety risk, to providing a consistent product, and to building the scientific evidence supporting beef's role in healthy diets and lifestyles. The beef industry is committed to providing a wholesome, nutritious food and to communicating accurate information about its nutritional qualities and the role of beef in a healthful diet. We follow the Statement of Principles regarding nutrition and health that was first adopted by the beef industry in 1984. Industry-funded research gets a bad rap for being biased and/or paid for results. I can't speak for all industry-funded research, but research funded by the Beef Checkoff adheres to principles embraced by the scientific community that minimizes bias and promotes integrity and credibility of the research. Checkoff-funded researchers have full control of research study design, interpretation of data, and conclusions, and they have the freedom and obligation to publish regardless of the outcome. In a recent publication providing a framework for industry-funded research, the authors note that if principles are followed as intended, there should be little reason to dispute the results of industry-funded studies other than to debate the science itself. All research requires funding, and funding sources for food nutrition research are limited. Most scientific research is often funded by a combination of government, industry, nonprofit, and university sources. Industry support for research helps fill investment gaps and ensures the body of knowledge from nutrition research continues to grow. But food industry-funded research generally gets more scrutiny. In a systematic review and meta-analysis of industry-funded nutrition studies, the authors concluded that industry-sponsored studies were of equal or better quality than those with other funding sources. The Beef Checkoff always discloses its role in funding research, and we are proud of our commitment to evaluating scientific evidence to understand how beef can be enjoyed as part of a healthy diet. So NCBA, as a contractor to the Beef Checkoff, funds research via two routes. We host an annual request for proposals with specific research topics, and we'll likely have our next one later this spring. And if you're interested in submitting an application, please reach out to me and I can add you to the RFP mailing list. Outside of the RFP, we sometimes fund directed research based on conversations with researchers on very specific research questions that align with their expertise and our research priorities. And this slide provides an overview of our program's key research priorities. As you can see, we have an interest in a lot of topics across the lifespan. After the research is completed and published, we know the importance to get that information out there, past the manuscript. This can include purchasing open access for the publication to get more eyes on it, working with the PI on a press release, or depending on the study, even hosting a campaign based on the study's public health message. And of course, it is important to make sure the way research is shared has to be in a clear and digestible way so healthcare professionals and consumers all alike can understand it. I'd also like to highlight that our research program hosts symposiums and workshops on topics of interest. For example, in 2018, we hosted the Strength Summit in San Antonio, which brought together nutrition scientists and health influencers, along with 2 producers, providing a spectrum of research interest and expertise. And this was an opportunity for the Checkoff to be a thought leader to identify and increase dialogue on science-based metrics of physical, mental, and emotional strength in each life stage within the scientific community. And you can see here 3 publications came out of this summit, which are all available open access. Now I'd like to provide a Beef 101 to demonstrate why beef has a role in healthy diets and lifestyles across the lifespan. With a unique combination of high-quality protein, iron, zinc, choline, and B vitamins, beef is a nutrient-rich food that nourishes and optimizes Americans' health at every life stage. A 3-ounce serving of beef provides 10 essential nutrients and about half of the daily value for protein in about 170 calories. Despite the common misperception that Americans are over-consuming beef, a recent analysis of NHANES data, which is a nationally representative survey of Americans' usual beef intake in adults 19 years and older, had an average intake of 1.6 ounces per day. Sure, there are some folks who eat a lot more and some who eat less, but the average intake of American adults was within dietary recommendations for protein foods. Note that there is no meat or beef specific recommendation in the dietary guidelines for Americans, as they emphasize flexibility, variety, and the opportunity to customize diets based on an individual's preferences, habits, and cultures. And not showing in this slide here, but the analysis of usual beef intake in older adults, 51 years and older, the mean is actually a little lower at 1.4 ounces per day. And that average intake of 1.6 ounces per day of adults contributes to 5% of calories, yet more than 5% of 9 essential nutrients to the Americans' diets. This includes zinc, vitamin B12, protein, choline, niacin, vitamin B6, iron, phosphorus, and potassium. Beef also tends to have the reputation of being a fatty food. However, due to changes in cattle breeding and feeding practices, as well as trimming specifications, the composition of beef has become significantly leaner over time. Specifically, trimming of external fat had the biggest impact, meaning while beef has gotten leaner overall, marbling and the flavor and tenderness of beef has remained the same. For example, a sirloin steak today is 34% lower in total fat compared to a sirloin steak from 1963. Similarly, the sirloin steak is 17% lower in saturated fat compared to one in 1990. And today, more than 65% of beef cuts sold at retail meet the government standards for lean. And some of the most popular lean cuts are top sirloin steak, strip steak, tenderloin, and 93% lean ground beef. When you look at beef's fatty acid profile, you might be surprised to learn that over half of beef's fatty acids are monounsaturated fatty acids, same as those in olive oil, nuts, and avocados. Additionally, a third of beef's saturated fatty acid content is stearic acid, which has been shown to have a neutral effect on blood cholesterol levels. And that NHANES analysis mentioned earlier showed that about 10% of saturated fat and 5% of total fat in the American diet comes from beef. And now I'm going to provide an overview of research that has looked at the role of beef in healthy aging. Our research program focuses on how beef strengthens the plate at all ages and life stages, including being a high-quality protein food to protect muscle. I share this slide again to highlight the many essential nutrients that beef provides to the diet. When we think about healthy aging, especially related to muscle health, protein is a key nutrient. But are all protein foods equal? The current dietary guidelines for Americans, which is the foundation that my plate is based on, daily recommendations of protein foods generally range from 2 to 7 ounce equivalents depending on the age, life stage, health status, gender, etc. of the person. Examples of a 1 ounce equivalent can be an ounce of meat, poultry or fish, 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, a quarter cup of tofu, quarter cup of cooked beans, or a half ounce of nuts or seeds. In a Checkoff-funded study, researchers compared 2 ounce equivalents of protein foods on muscle protein synthesis and breakdown rates in young adults. Their study demonstrated that the animal-based protein foods, including beef, had higher protein synthesis rates and less breakdown rates, making a higher overall net balance compared to the plant-based protein foods. When we look at calories per servings of a protein food, beef has relatively fewer calories compared to plant sources of protein. All the foods on this slide, in those portions noted, provide 25 grams of protein. So you can see the caloric cost of the different protein sources. Most of the plant proteins have 2 to 3 times the calories to get the same amount of protein as 1 serving of beef. To show the difference in protein density and the caloric cost mentioned on the previous slide, in a Checkoff-funded study, researchers modeled an omnivore eating pattern, including beef, and 2 vegan eating patterns, one matched for calories and one matched for protein. All eating patterns met essential amino acids recommendations. When the vegan diet was matched for calories, the diet provided 20 grams less protein. And when the vegan diet was matched for protein, the diet had more than 300 calories. I also want to note that many plant-based meat alternative products are formulated to closely mimic the nutrition facts panel of meat. In a study led by Dr. Stefan Van Vliet, the researchers compared the metabolite profiles of ground beef and popular plant-based meat alternative products matched for serving size and fat content. And despite the similarities on the nutrition facts panels, the metabolomics analyses found that metabolite abundances between the plant-based meat alternative and grass-fed ground beef differed by 90%. When I think about healthy aging, it is more than physical health, but also cognitive and emotional health, and to maintain the ability to live independently. Research has shown that more than half of women over 65 years old who fall and break a hip never walk again. So it's important to understand what nutritional components in the diet can help promote healthy aging, including preservation of muscle mass and function, and delay the onset of sarcopenia and slow its progression. So where can beef fit in? Most of the studies I will be highlighting today focuses on the protein from beef, but there is some newer research evaluating the impact of other beef nutrients and how it can support healthy aging. This should not be a surprise for anyone in this room, as research has shown there is a synergistic effect of protein and exercise on muscle health. Previous evidence has demonstrated that older adults experience a blunted muscle protein synthetic response to protein ingestion, which can make it more difficult to maintain muscle mass and function and contribute to the development of sarcopenia. This blunted response is common, particularly when dietary protein intake is lower. In a Checkoff-funded study led by Dr. Doug Patton-Jones, researchers questioned whether the synergistic effect of resistance exercise combined with a protein-rich meal on muscle protein synthesis rates differed by age. They compared healthy young and older adults who each consumed a very large meal consisting of 12 ounces of ground beef, which included 90 grams of protein, and then did a series of resistance exercises. This study demonstrates that aging muscle can and does respond to dietary protein and resistance exercise at the same level as younger muscles. In another Checkoff-funded study led by Dr. Stu Phillips, they examined whether there is a dose-dependent response for muscle protein synthesis based on varying amounts of beef. They found that a 170-gram or 6-ounce serving of beef providing 42 grams of protein resulted in greater rates of muscle protein synthesis in older adults compared to smaller servings of beef, both in exercise and non-exercise muscles. So I think it's clear that beef's protein can play an important role in supporting muscle health as we get older. Another area of protein research that Checkoff has invested in was evaluating when protein is consumed and whether it makes a difference in muscle health. A typical protein intake pattern has an individual consuming most of their protein in a dinner meal, with much less at breakfast and lunch. Based on some preliminary work at University of Texas Medical Branch, Drs. Patton Jones and Rasmussen proposed the suggestion that consuming 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal would optimize muscle protein synthesis throughout the day, as well as possibly help maintain satiety. In a Checkoff-funded study to test this protein threshold, researchers led by Dr. Patton Jones compared the 24-hour skeletal muscle protein synthesis in healthy adults whose collective daily meals provided about 90 grams of protein per day, but differed in a distribution pattern, whether it was skewed towards the dinner meal or evenly spread throughout the day, over a 7-day period. These diets were isoenergetic and isonitrogenous. This was a crossover study, so each study participant served as a control of themselves. The researchers concluded that a moderate amount of protein, around 30 grams, at breakfast, lunch, and dinner stimulated 24-hour muscle protein synthesis 25% greater than the skewed protein distribution pattern. Based on this study, we thought this would be a helpful and practical public health message to include protein at each meal, especially for individuals who have marginal or inadequate protein intakes. In 2015, the Beef Checkoff hosted the 30-day protein challenge, encouraging all participants to track their protein intake for a month and to aim to get 25 to 30 grams of protein at each meal. Participants were also asked to track how they felt physically, as well as their hunger and mood each day. Note that it was encouraged to include a variety of protein foods in their diet, not just beef. And now to share some more research from the Beef Checkoff. In another research study led by Drs. Wolf and Ferrando, in a co-funded study by the Beef Checkoff, they were interested in seeing if there was a long-term impact of protein distribution patterns in the context of higher protein diets, in this case 1.1 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. In addition to assessing muscle protein synthesis, they also looked at protein breakdown and net balance. The researchers concluded that at protein intake above the RDA, which is 0.8 grams per kilogram, the protein intake distribution pattern in mixed meals did not play an important role in whole body protein kinetics. And now I'm going to shift from research looking at protein kinetics to more physical and functional outcomes such as muscle mass, strength, and performance. In a cross-sectional study with 142 subjects in Ohio, not only was beef intake positively associated with muscle mass as measured in the mid-arm of older adults, but in a linear regression analysis, a 1 ounce per day increase in beef consumption predicted a 2.3 centimeters squared increase in mid-arm muscle area. So going back to the previously mentioned study led by Drs. Wolf and Ferrando, they also looked at the long-term impact of higher protein diets on muscle strength, including knee extension and hand grip strength, and functional outcomes. The researchers concluded that at protein intake above the RDA, again 0.8 grams per kilogram, the protein intake distribution patterns did not play an important role in impacting muscle strength or functional outcomes. In a 4-month cluster randomized controlled trial in Australia led by Dr. Daly, 100 older women residing in retirement communities participated in a progressive resistance training program combined with either about 6 ounces of lean red meat or servings of pasta or rice, which represented the control group, 6 days a week. After 4 months, the lean red meat group had a significant increase in total lean body mass compared to baseline and the control group. Additionally, after those 4 months, the lean red meat group had a significant increase in muscle strength compared to baseline and control group. In a Checkoff-funded study led by Dr. Perry, they evaluated the role of daily intake of fresh, lean red meat in a calorie-restricted DASH-like diet over 12 weeks in sedentary, obese older adults. They saw a significant reduction in total body weight, with a notable 31% of the participants shifting to a less severe BMI category by the end of the study. They also saw an increase in sit-stand repetitions and in females a significant increase in their hand grip strength. These findings suggest that the DASH diet, including fresh lean beef, has the potential to be a tool to preserve muscle mass while reducing fat mass in obese older adults. However, a limitation of this study is that it did not include a comparison group, so the outcomes of the study were not evaluated against a different dietary pattern. In another Checkoff-funded study led by Dr. Bales, they conducted a 6-month randomized clinical trial looking at the effects of a calorie-reduced, higher protein diet in older, obese, and frail adults. The higher protein group consumed at least 2 meals per day that included lean beef. Similar to the Perry study, this study did not include an exercise component, but did provide personalized meal plans and weekly group meetings for counseling and peer support. The researchers saw significant weight loss in both groups, and all participants also saw improved physical function, but the increase was significantly greater in the protein group compared to the control group. In addition to muscle health, we are also interested in whether beef intake combined with resistance exercise may have benefits on tendon health. In a Checkoff-funded study that is currently finishing up, Dr. Carroll is comparing 2 higher protein diets, one with beef and one without, and a normal protein diet on tendon health and function. We anticipate a study publication later this year, and we are excited to see what they see in their results. In addition to physical strength and performance measures, we are also very interested in understanding the role of beef in brain health. Beef is a source of numerous vitamins and minerals that play a key role in brain health. In the previously shared 4-month study led by Dr. Daly, executive function and global cognitive function was assessed at baseline, 12 weeks, and 24 weeks. Both groups experienced improvements in executive function and global cognitive function that did not differ between the groups after 24 weeks. In the previously mentioned study led by Dr. Bales, they also assessed quality of life outcomes using SF-36, seeing substantial improvements in physical quality of life outcomes for all study participants. This was likely due to the significant weight loss they all experienced, which helped improve their quality of life. The researchers note that this shows importance of considering mental health and quality of life as part of any weight loss intervention for older adults. We also started to look into well-being, which is defined by the CDC as the presence of positive emotions and moods, satisfaction with life, fulfillment, and positive functioning. In a recently published systematic review led by Dr. Baum, they saw an overall positive effect of beef and beef's nutrients on well-being in older adults. However, it should be noted that only 9 qualified studies were included in the review. The authors conclude that there's an evident need for additional well-designed clinical trials evaluating the efficiency of beef and beef's nutrients in healthy older adults to promote well-being. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. Overall, the research suggests that beef in the context of healthy diets and lifestyle has an important role in healthy aging. Healthy higher protein dietary patterns, combined with regular exercise, can help preserve or increase muscle mass, function, and performance, with potential improvements in brain and cognitive health, mental health, emotional health, well-being, quality of life, and other important areas of strength. As you can see, there's still a lot of research to be done, and I think it's evident that beef can have a role in healthy aging. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity to share about our research program. I am the Nutrition Research Program Manager, and I'm always happy to discuss research. So please reach out to me if you have any interest in chatting more. Thanks so much. Take care.